Good afternoon. Sorry, my little ear thing is going to pop out here. So let me make sure it stays in. How are you? I am so excited to be doing this. I've been thinking about this for an age and just not getting around to it. So I made a promise to myself I was doing it by the end of the year. So here I am. I am doing 20 days at least of birth tips for you guys. So I am taking the best pieces. Hey Louise, how you doing? My plan is to take, thank you for joining me, the best pieces of advice, the best tips that I can from my workshops and bring them to you live every day for the next 20 days, hopefully making it every single day, but you know, kids and all, I might miss a day, but I'm going to get 20 in before Christmas. That is my commitment. So I'm going to share one a day with you. I'm going to do it live. But I am going to save it all down into the grid as well, so if you have to pop off in the middle of this or something, it will be on the grid and you'll be able to find them there. So going to get started straight away to not waste anybody's time. And if you followed me for a while, you probably have heard me say this one before, but I really want to explain it today. My number one, I honest to God think this is my number one tip for birth, and that is to stay off your back for labour. And I know that's what we see in the media. We see women lying on their backs giving birth all the time. I know if you've given birth before, that's probably for a lot of you the position you ended up in, and it's, to be frank, the position we're often encouraged to be in by our care providers, but it is not a good idea, and I'm going to explain why. So I don't know about you, but when I was pregnant, I really didn't think an awful lot about the journey that baby had to make. I thought about baby moving through my vagina, but I really kind of sort of visualized it as a fairly straight tube, and you know, that was about it. That's about as far as my imagination went. I didn't think about how baby moved through my pelvis. So this is a female pelvis. This is the front, this is the back. And it has a shape, you know. Everybody's shape is slightly different, but most things are the same about it. It has an inlet, which is the top of the pelvis, which is wider in this direction than this direction. It has the mid pelvis, which is these little sticky innie bits here, if you like. That's what they call the mid pelvis. And then the pelvic outlet, which is down here, which is the last piece of the pelvis as baby goes through. And what happens is, as you're coming up to birth, sorry now these things are moving, and I don't want them to pop out of my ears. So your baby will tend to come into your pelvis like this, because that's where the widest space is. Then it moves down, and then it'll turn itself around to try and get under this arch here. It'll get to a certain point, coming down here. Then the wee shoulders are going to get, move my baby down a little bit more, are going to get caught here at the mid pelvis. So then it'll turn itself around to pop the shoulders, and then eventually baby will come out. So why am I telling you all this? Well, the thing to know is, let me put my baby's head back in here again. So when baby gets to this point here, yeah, to this pelvic outlet, if you are lying on your back, this is the amount of space that your baby has to get out, okay? So roughly this much space. If you get off your back, so if you go on your side, or if you get up on all fours, or leaning on something, or if you're squatting, if you're basically off your back, off the sacrum, which is this bit here, look what happens. Can you see that? Your sacrum actually moves out of the way. That's a pretty big movement. That's 30%, up to 30%. I'm doing it a lot so it sticks in your head, but it's up to 30% more room in your pelvis if you do not put pressure on that sacrum. So if you're lying on your back, it has nowhere to go. If you go on your side, if you're up on all fours, or any other position where you're not putting pressure on that sacrum, it'll actually move out of the way to help your baby get out, essentially. So that's why anyone in the birth world bangs on about this a lot, about upward, forward, open. If you're upwards and not leaning back on your sacrum, then that sacrum can move and you have a lot more room to let baby out. The other thing to know about your pelvic and bone structure in birth is the position of your legs matters. So again, what are we familiar with when we see birth? We see women with their knees out and their ankles in, yeah? That actually reduces the space for your baby to exit your pelvis. And I'm going to do a little trick. I'm going to move back a little bit. As you can see me. You can try this at home. So if you're sitting on a chair, sit on your hands so you can feel the sit bones, which is the bony piece of your pelvis sticking into your hands. Sit on those sit bones. Put your knees together and your ankles together. Then widen out your knees, keeping your ankles in a little bit, which is the kind of classic, the way we see women give birth, yeah, generally on their backs, but the knees out and the calves in. Then do the opposite. Close your knees and put your ankles or your calves out. Can you feel the difference? Can you feel those sit bones? You might have to do it a couple of times, but you can feel those bones under your hands move closer together like this. And now they're further apart when you do that. So again, when you get to the push-in stage, when you're trying to give your baby as much room as possible, you want those knees in, your calves and your ankles out, because that is going to open up those bones and give you more room at the end of the day. So yeah, that's why we talk. Hey Emily, how you do? That's why we talk a lot about upright, some people call it UFO, upright, forward, open. But using any position that's going to keep you off that sacrum and allow that kind of space to maneuver. And I'm going to show you very quickly. The ball is one of the best tools that you can use for that. So again, this is something I teach in my workshops, but sitting on a birthing ball is one of the best things you can do for your labour, because you're not sitting back on your sacrum, you're upright. You can be bouncing on it, you can be doing circles, you can be doing figures of eights, all stuff like that. You can even just use it to rest. So if you want to lean on a bed or something and just be resting, it's really useful for that. And then what most women find is they tend to want to go down a little bit closer to the ground as labour progresses. And then you can be rocking back and forth, rocking side to side. You can use the ball to rest in between contractions, which is really, really useful as well. And you can also lunge. So you can bring one leg up and lunge. Really, really useful manoeuvre if baby's getting a bit stuck. You can do it in one leg and the other. And again, I'm going to turn around so we can show you this thing. When you get to the pushing stage, you are pushing your baby out. Remember, knees in, calves out if you're leaning on the ball. So that's my tips. Try and stay off your back. Try and remember knees in, calves out when you're pushing. Use that birth ball. It's a really, really useful tool. Either sitting, bouncing, figures of eight, circles, all that kind of stuff. Or kneeling down. You can get a mat when you're in labour, so save your knees. Kneel down, lean on it, back and forth. Do your hip circles, any kind of manoeuvre that feels right to you. And then use it to rest as well. Use it to support you in between contractions, which is just as important as during the contractions. It's a really fantastic tool for labour. I know some people are going to ask me what happens if I have an epidural. Obviously you can't use the gym ball, but there is a thing called a peanut ball, and I'm going to do that tomorrow. I don't want to make these videos too long either for people watching. So tune in tomorrow for day 2, and I will show you how to use the peanut ball, which is again a tool you can use in labour specifically for really on the bed. So whether you want to be on the bed, whether you have to be on the bed from an epidural point of view, I'll also show you just some other positions that you can adopt while you're on the bed. Again, all with the aim of keeping that pelvis open, allowing that sacrum to move out of the way and make it easier to birth your baby. So that's it. That's day 1's. Hey Lisa, how you doing? We just finished, but I'm going to save this down to the grid so you can see it. So yeah, all with the aim of keeping that pelvis open. So hopefully you found that useful. As always, you can send me a DM or add a comment into the video on the grid if you have any questions. Otherwise, hope you have a great day.